Yo, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to Prison to Promise. Today's conversation is about resilience. Not the kind we talk about in theory, but the kind that's forged in addiction, the kind that's forged in incarceration, the kind that's forged in spiritual struggle and the hard decisions to change. Today I'm joined by the good brother Earnest Hanible, who is a man that describes himself first and foremost as resilient. It's a resilience grounded in faith, community, and self honesty. After 30 years of substance use and repeated cycles of incarceration, Ernest experienced a spiritual turning point in May of 2023 that transformed not just his habits but his identity as well. Today, he's interning with Georgetown University's Pivot program for returning citizens and completing an 8-month entrepreneur fellowship focused on building purpose-driven businesses. That's dope, y'all. In this episode, Ernest and I, we talk about mindset, mentorship, harm reduction, building identity, and what it really means to surrender old patterns and to choose a new path. It ain't easy, yo. This conversation is honest, it's reflective, and it's rooted in the belief that no matter your past, your purpose is still waiting. So let's get into it here on the Prison to Promise podcast. Now let's go. I appreciate you finding time to get with me on the platform, man. So tell me about the program that you're involved with.
So it is it's an intense entrepreneurial fellowship where
Yeah.
they really give you the structure for how to, do business, how to communicate in business, how to negotiate. It's a very thorough and intensive 8 months
Nice.
training, and I graduate this June.
Okay.
So it was something that I was interested in back about 2 years ago when I first returned.
Mm-hmm.
However, it was the spots weren't available at that time, so I did some other entrepreneurial training through DC government.
Mm-hmm.
And when this became available, I took advantage of it.
Right on, right on. Dig
Yeah,
it. And so, brother, tell folks who you are. Give a little brief intro to yourself.
man. Well, I am a very resilient person, and I attribute that to my faith.
Mm-hmm.
It has always been the thing that has kept me with a confident expectations that things can turn around.
Yeah.
So I'm a very purpose-driven person that now that I have reconnected
Mm-hmm.
to that identity, that part of me. Well, actually, that's who I am. It ain't just a part of me; it's who
Yeah.
I am.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that I'm a type of person that I don't believe that the things that I went through were in vain. I believe that uh, God can take, those things meant for evil, even the things that you in self-sabotage. He can take it and turn it for good. And I'm starting to see that good reaching back to other neighbors, man, that are re-entering, dealing with recovery, mental health, or housing instability. So it's just a very much a part of who I am. And that's really the spill on me, man. I went through 30 years
Mm.
of, back and forth with binge using,
Yeah.
uh, keeping jobs, staying functional, keeping up the outside appearances, but, really didn't have much of any substance on the inside, just a bunch of clothes, cars, and things to mask it.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll close it by saying, I had in 22 now, May 22.
Mm-hmm.
No, actually 23, excuse me, May 23. I just had an experience on one of those benches
Mm-hmm.
that was to me very spiritual as far as the torment of it. Um and from there I went through about a 3-week journey of like really assessing like what would my life look like if I lived it out purposefully in every area of my life.
Yeah.
And at the time I was dealing with a warrant.
Mhm.
and I self-surrendered, and I haven't looked back since.
Mhm.
So it was more than just a physical surrender, it was a surrender in a lot of ways.
Yeah, psychological, emotional,
Mhm.
spiritual,
Yeah.
physical, all of that, yeah.
Yes, sir.
And so I heard you say you've been home for about 2 years now?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
how long were you gone before you came home?
Well, it was just for a violation, so I was only gone 8 months. The charge itself, I did about 2 years and 8 months.
Mhm,
But I
mhm,
had just previously in 2017 just finished doing 4 years and 8 months, so
mhm.
you can see the destruction of that pattern.
Yeah, yeah, and we
Yeah.
know that pattern, we see it all too often, if not in ourselves and other people that we've been around in and out of the penitentiary, and I think it was meeting people who had those types of, habits of behavior of being in and out of the penitentiary that, gave me a wake-up call almost 30 years ago, over 30 years ago. I've been home more than
Wow.
30 years, um, but I was in prison back in the '90s and meeting people who were giving me stories about their recidivism and their in and out cycles. I thought to myself, I don't want this to be me. And so I
Mhm.
began working on trying to do something different. But
Wow.
for you, bro, what was it that made you say, okay, I'm done. All right. I gotta do something different because what I'm doing
Yeah.
ain't working.
It was like I said, it was the experience itself, like, when I look at over the years from the, you know, late '80s, the early '90s, street life and all that kinda stuff, it
Mhm,
had an appearance of fun.
mhm.
But it's been a long time that it hasn't been fun,
Yeah,
right? So, and like I said, in '23, um, when I was experiencing those, patterns of binges, whether it be a month from now, 3 months later, they were more they were more, unfulfilling than fulfilling. It was like, there's no fun in it. I didn't enjoy one binge, you know what I'm saying? And then like I said, the last one was so spiritually tormenting,
yeah,
that it really just brought me to, like, the end of myself. That's the best way that I can describe it. I had never felt so broken or, so much dis-ease. I've never it was it it was a God moment for me.
yeah,
It was the only other place to look was up. And so, like I said, I started to investigate, like, okay, what really will your life, because I had been doing some things, even with that dysfunction in my life, a part of who I was in my upbringing. I always believed in community and giving back and things of that nature, but it was just coming out perverted. Helping people, taking people on rides to take care of stuff so, other substances could be consumed and, like, always trying to meet somebody's need.
yeah.
So it stayed with me the whole time. But just the brokenness of my last experience,
Mhm.
that's all I can say. And then my commitment to wanting to see what would my life look like if I totally, looked at every area of my life and tried to live it more purposefully.
Good.
And as a result, I'm here today.
Right on. And so for a while, you were like a prisoner to your own addiction, a prisoner to your own whims before you even got locked up behind the gates and cages. And so it was almost like double prisoner.
Yeah, most definitely. Uh, and I like to even say, not even a prisoner to the drugs, but to the mindset around drugs.
Yeah.
To the way of thinking
Mm,
about using,
yeah.
thinking about
Yeah.
womanizing, thinking about a good time, how I thought about it in general. Outside of the actual activities that I had desire for.
Mm,
So, like, just having a new disposition in the way I think and see myself
mm,
has changed, like, the whole trajectory of
yeah.
my life.
And as a man thinketh, so is he.
Yes, sir.
That is the big piece right there. We always hear a big push for mental wellness, mental health, talks around mental illness and things of that nature. So we do know and understand as individuals and as a society the importance of people getting their mind right, getting their head right. And we've talked about this for years, in the communities that we come out of. Got to get my head right, got to get my mind right, but
Mhm.
maybe we were thinking differently about what that meant. But at the end of the day, if our mind is not right, nothing else flows.
Ain't
Yeah,
nothing else gonna work, right?
word is born. So
Coming through.
go ahead, go ahead.
No, no, I'm just saying that to your point, because it's coming through a corrupted system.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it ain't gonna have the right output, period.
Absolutely, absolutely. Coming through a corrupted system and emerging as something filthy, something
Yeah.
off center, definitely. So, what would you tell like other men or women who are going through the spaces that you've come out of? You know, what would you tell them to maybe help them find their way? What would be some good advice or good insight you would have to share with them?
I would say, first of all, just being honest with yourself.
Hmm.
Uh, and that's easier said than done, because you can live this is from my experience, you can live a certain way for so long that you think it's true.
Yeah, man.
And you have to spend enough time, investigating, why do I think the way I think? You
Mhm.
know, why do I do the things I do? Like, just to begin to ask yourself questions.
Yeah.
Ask yourself questions as it relates to, I made this plan. Why haven't I obtained this plan?
Mhm.
I set out for this goal. Why haven't I? And the more I began to do that, the responsibility kind of fell back in my lap.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing I would do, is to tell people to ask, the why question that matters to them, not what society says, not what your mama think you should be doing this time, your children. You ask yourself those why questions. And then I think at the core for me too was identity.
Yeah.
Like, I had to stop seeing myself a certain way, and for me, I know everybody's faith is different.
Mhm.
But I do believe that, as creation, we all have an inherent worth and value,
Yeah.
regardless of our station or circumstances in life. So I would also advise people to get in touch with, like, your sense of identity in its purest form, not based on what you've been through, not based on what you've done or had done to you. But if you can hone in on a sense of purpose and to
Mhm.
find the identity in that,
Mhm.
I think that strengthens everything. So asking those why questions, and I believe even asking those why questions will drive you towards an identity. Like, why do I do? Oh, that's because okay, so I don't want to. I'm no longer going to do that. Whatever that thing is for that person, I'm going to pivot and I'm gonna start, doing things with love
Yeah.
versus with hate. I mean, whatever those, because I don't want to like make a blanket statement,
Right, right, right.
because my faith is at the core of my identity.
Yeah.
And I think without identity, you'll label yourself based on what you've been through
Mhm.
or have had done to you.
Mhm.
So, asking yourself those questions, uh, finding some kind of resolution of your purpose, like, why are you here? Why was I created? Like, identity questions as well. That's my greatest advice, because that's what has solidified me. I ask the tough questions,
Yeah.
that I needed to ask myself. And as a result of asking it, I had to begin to take the steps that was needed to get there, versus making all the excuses that I would make
Yeah.
for myself. Not saying anyone else is, but I was making a lot of excuses. And again, I wasn't anchored in an identity.
Right. And brother, those tough questions are challenging, and sometimes scary. And folks don't want to ask those tough questions because I'm thinking the answers that they're going to get. And I know for me that was a big challenge, but I knew I had to jump off of that ledge if I wanted to go a different way or just stay stuck, you know.
Mhm.
And so that's real powerful, man. That's really
Yeah. And I even will go as far as to say is, I would sometimes, when I think, whether it was in my addiction or on a cot in a prison,
Mhm.
sometimes those questions would be on the inside of me, but I wouldn't verbalize.
Mhm.
I could be laying there thinking, like, why do I do that? But I wouldn't actually like verbalize it. I wouldn't commit to asking myself that.
So it's on you.
Although internally the question was there. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah. But we gotta speak it because once we speak it, then it starts moving.
Yeah, yes, sir.
just being dormant. So yeah, that's powerful. And I think that we have the answers that we need, inside of us, but we have to be willing to do the work to uncover them. And like you mentioned, like so many other things are in the way, be it, we're fronting this persona or, we're just getting high or we just got clothes and cars or whatever, but we got all these items, kind of smothering the I of the self, the true identity of myself. And so I start to identify and label myself based on what I have, what I've been through, et cetera, instead of just understanding who and or what I am and what my purpose is. And
Yes,
so it
sir.
sounds like you have identified your purpose, or at least you're on the pathway to fulfilling some of that purpose. And what
Yes.
is your purpose, would you say?
I believe at the end of the day, my purpose is to just encourage
Mm,
uh the next brother or sister, whether it be through words, whether it be through my social entrepreneurship, whether it be through, volunteering or getting hype about your idea. And essentially I feel like in doing that, I'll have an opportunity to share my faith.
mm,
Uh which is why I, live the way I live, move the way I move, so that's at the core of my purpose at the end of the day too. I believe in, a lot of times you go around talking about doing good, but I believe you should lead with good works
mhm,
and then have a discussion,
yeah,
meet a need, you know, and then have a discussion, learn who a person is, and then have the discussion. And building that relationship will open up doors for people to start asking you questions. Man, why are you so happy? How
mhm,
did you bounce back?
mhm,
And then once those questions start to happen, then I feel I can share my faith
yeah,
versus feeling like, I see someone in need. I need to share my faith. No,
yeah,
that may not be what you need to do. What you may need to do is ask them, are they all right? Is
right,
there anything that I can help you with? Like, and build the relationship.
mm,
So that's my purpose, man, to go about doing good works,
mhm,
um, meeting people where they are, and hopefully building the type of relationship that would open the door that I could share my faith.
yeah, and that's powerful, bro, right there, that piece, and my head almost blew off the top when you mentioned relationship, because relationships are really the one thing that's most responsible for helping people change,
Yeah.
is the relationships that they have with other people, or it's what's responsible for keeping people stuck a lot of times in where they are, the relationships that they have with the type of people that they're around. Because like they would say when we were young, if you got nine broke friends, you're gonna be the 10th broke one.
Yeah,
Oh,
no doubt.
and if you got 9 friends who are trying to do well for themselves, you're gonna be the 10th one bringing that up too. So you are a lot like the company that you keep. We're never
Right.
around what they say, you don't find pigeons flying with eagles and, you don't find sparrows hanging out with hawks. And so I could dig that, the relationship is so important there.
Yes, sir. Yes,
And
sir.
one of the things that people may be picking up when we're talking about relationships is you keep coming back to this relationship with self. You haven't said it like that, but what it sounds like is that you have a relationship with self. You understand who you are, you understand what your purpose is, and you understand where you are going. But I wonder, for people who are listening, is this a place that you get to as you mature through experience and age, or is that a place where anybody can get to?
It to me, it's a place where anybody can get to.
Mhm,
It's just about, a person coming to that reality wherever they are in their journey.
mhm,
Um and some people feel like certain changes are for an appointed time and seasons and things of that nature. So I would also say, even when you do make decisions and you may fail at the decision, may not mean that you didn't have clarity, but you just may not have had enough resolve to follow through on the commitment
mhm,
of it. So I guess what I'm saying is just to get back up and take another step,
mhm,
because what may look like a failure from someone else on the outside looking in, like, oh man, why haven't you taken these? And I hope I'm not getting off track because I got so much on my mind and things going on in the background. But Can just repeat that again? Because I got a little distracted.
Brother, you are on a great path.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
you're on a great path.
Okay. But yeah, so and I would tell people that, first of all, don't judge your steps by the next person's steps.
Yeah.
And then, when you practice some agency, affirm yourself, give yourself some credit for it. Even if you do fall back from whatever decision that is, because in affirming yourself when you made a decision, it'll give you some resolve to make a better step the next time.
Yeah.
So like, don't discount any steps that you are making towards your change, even if it's harm reduction,
Yeah.
where other people may feel like, you haven't stopped using now, you've been using for 30 years. You know what I'm saying? But the day for that person, it may just look like harm reduction.
Right, right, right.
And then to celebrate yourself for practicing some harm reduction. You know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying? And building more agency to take the next step and the next step and the next step. So that's what I guess what I'm saying is, I would share, like, don't discount any of your steps.
Yeah.
Don't throw them away when you make a mistake. But first of all, make sure you affirm yourself for taking the step, because I
Yeah.
think that solidifies it.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Don't brush it off like, oh yeah, well, I just went down there today to talk to the people. No, today I got up. I wanted to do some other things, right? But I went on down here and I talked to these people today. Like, and just framing it that way,
Mhm.
what I'm saying, will give you some more agency to take a better step the next time.
So learning to frame our experience more positively, because a couple things came to mind, and one is, yeah, how people talk sometimes to themselves about themselves. I know I've talked to some students and they tell me, "Oh yeah, I'm just going to the junior college." I'm like, "What do you mean just the junior college? You're going to
Right.
junior college. You know, that's a big step, you
Yeah.
know?" Or I hear people talk about, "Oh yeah, I tried, but it didn't work out." But the fact of the matter is that you tried it, you know,
Hmm.
and yeah, it didn't work out, but what did you learn from that? And now you have
Right.
fodder and you have information. So when you go back at it again, and then, the one thing that you also mentioned was failure. And people only fail when they stop trying. Maybe it
Mhm.
didn't work the first 10 times, first 100 times, but you try that 101st time, it just might work. So
Yeah.
we fail once we stop trying, you
Yes,
know.
sir.
So you're hitting, at least for me, you're hitting like some really key points. And I think that many of our journeys are the same. We might not have had the same experiences, but I think when we come to this place where we know we want to turn a corner, bend a corner, do a 180 in our lives and start living a more purpose-driven lives, it always sounds very similar, you know,
Mhm.
always sounds very similar with everything that you're talking about.
Yes,
And
sir.
so
I would have
what
to agree.
what would you say is in the future for you moving forward?
Um, well, the vision that I have for myself is, I would like, well, I don't want to say the vision I have, I would like the vision I have for myself. I see,
Mm,
social entrepreneurship doing well for myself, so that I can be more, have the freedom to move about in hard to reach places like I want to,
yeah,
and have a passive income to be able to do it. So it looks like, more community engagement, a lot of outreach. It looks like a nonprofit. I've always had this desire, even since I was 19, even before my addiction, when I was just in the life.
yeah,
I can remember one time that I had, I'll say, uh, I'll call it a vision, an open vision, and I'm standing on this particular street, and I'm looking at all the buildings, and in my mind, I'm picturing them like wood. Wood is banged across the windows, right?
mhm,
And
mhm,
all of these lights are on going down the street with the wood on these windows. And people are kind of walking through the street and the tumbleweed is blowing. But inside of these buildings, in my mind, I hear like a lot of praise music,
mm,
right? But outside is dying. And I can remember times where I would ask questions. My father was involved in what was called the Orange Hats community group at our church. I was younger then and had to go to church on Sundays and things of that nature. But it was, to me, my question became, wow, they come out to police the neighborhood, but they don't necessarily serve the neighborhood they police.
Mm,
But they'll serve the neighborhood they police when they're trying to drive money for the building.
mhm,
And I never, in this particular day, I'm looking down the street and I see it, and this ties into what I'm saying. I would I envision a 24/7 crisis center.
mhm,
I envision a place I would like to see myself where they're not just in my city, but in cities next to me and across the nation one day, possibly.
yeah,
But a crisis center that is open up 24/7, because a lot of people that need resources and help, when the 9 to 5 is over, you got to wait till tomorrow to get you some help.
yeah, and that might be true.
Um, and I want to fill that gap. So my biggest dream and vision, what I see for myself, is establishing this nonprofit, having these crisis centers, starting with one, and it being successful, so that people can actually, you know, the work doesn't stop when the clock hits
Right,
5.
right,
That's my ultimate vision.
right. Yeah, that's powerful, brother. And I'm pausing because I'm still seeing it in my own mind, my own version of a 24-hour crisis intervention center. And we know sometimes the difference between success and failure is just access to resources.
Yeah,
You know? And I know that many of us who have found ourselves in prisons and jails, not all of us, but many of us, we come from marginalized, disadvantaged communities that does not have access to resources like other folks in other communities do. You
yeah,
know,
yes,
not to
sir.
say that folks who don't, that do have access to resources, don't fall down the rabbit hole, because we know they do as well.
Yeah,
But I think, yeah, having access can definitely limit the number of people who feel hopeless and just fall into despair and to not giving a damn.
yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah. So what would you like other people to know, if there was any message that you could send out to people in the community who are going through addiction, who are not sure about who they are, where they're trying to go? What message do you have for them?
My message for them is that they have worth and value.
Yeah,
Um, Again, I believe that as created beings, that we're not accidents.
yeah,
Uh, and I believe within that there's purpose already in you, built into you. That you are I'll just say preordained to walk in, whether you choose to walk in them or not. It's there. The gifts are in you. The talent is in you. The aspirations are in you. Um, and for a lot of people, they didn't even know that these gifts reside, that these talents reside. And I think sometimes we spend so much time thinking about how I wasted it, or has it been removed? You know, can I ever succeed in this area that I used to dream about, or still dream about? Um, but they at least I was the type of person that felt like, because of that disconnect,
mhm,
those, the way that I was living, that those things couldn't be obtained.
right,
And I would question my purpose. I would question my worth. I would question my value. Um, and it's only by the grace of God, through I would say, through the experience that I had, that I was able to time back time back into, like, my belief system.
yeah,
So I guess I said a lot of words just to say, like, I would tell a man, you have worth, you have value, you've been created with it.
yeah,
It's not going anywhere. It's going to continue to nag you. Don't die with your dreams inside of you.
yeah.
You still have opportunity and a chance if you here today.
That's right. Tap in from cradle to grave.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. And so, two last things, bro. And one is, if you could capture your journey from as far back as you can think, maybe when all the trouble started in your life, to this very moment, if you could capture that in a title or catchphrase, what would that be? What would that title or catchphrase be?
It would be resilience.
Resilience.
It would be resilience. You have to go on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's so much stuff that, I mean, like you said, from a child on. And although I wasn't taught into my faith as a child, still I had this inherent belief that, tomorrow could be better.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like things can change. Um, yeah, man. I don't even know what to say past that. That resilience piece
That's
is,
good.
I used to talk to my sister, and excuse me for babbling a little bit, but my
Yeah, yeah.
sister used to be like, how you always talk about, what you haven't done, and, you're wasting your potential, as I described. That's why I want other people to know, like, you have worth and value regardless of what you're going through. And it's not going anywhere. It's just up to you to
Mm,
use the gifts and talents that are in you. They're already there.
yeah.
But she once kind of reprimanded me, but complimented me and reprimanded me at the same time. It was like, you always talking about what hasn't been done, but you don't really understand how your life blesses me just to see your resilience.
Mm,
You get back up.
mhm.
You get back up.
Yeah.
You get back up. And you may look at that as a bad thing. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying?
Mm,
But, so I look at it, some of the stuff you've gone through and gotten back up from, I can't even fathom
yeah.
wanting to get back up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? After some of those things. But so resilience. That would be the one word that I would say would capture my life.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
always pressed forward.
And sometimes I think the relationships that we have in our lives help us remain resilient because, as you illustrated, your sister was drawing from you, and you may have been drawing from her or from other sources. But resilience, very important piece, man. And finally, brother, um, if someone hears you here on the Prison to Promise podcast and they say, I want to touch that brother, I want to reach out to him, how can people reach out to you?
I can be reached out right now at hellogoodworksgrooming.com.
Uh-huh.
A social enterprise that I've created to give back to the community, dignity centered engagement, helping people helping neighbors that are navigating reentry, recovery, mental health, and instability. That's the primary place. Someone can get in contact me via email.
Mhm.
Um,
Will you
I'm
spell that
also
out? Will you spell
uh,
that?
yeah, Good Works Grooming, GoodWorksGrooming.com, excuse me,
Mhm.
goodworksgrooming.com. And I'm also at Good Works Grooming on Facebook and Instagram.
Right on, man. Right on. Has there been anything that I didn't touch that you wanna touch in the last couple of minutes we have?
Um, no, you said a lot. I think the only thing is mentorship. Uh, well, you did talk about that, relationships through the resilience and stuff like that, but mentorship. Uh, when you come home, if you're hearing this, you come home, if you have a vision for yourself, find somebody that looks like where you're going
Mm,
and ask them to mentor you.
mhm,
Humble, you can have all these great plans and visions and promises, but especially for men, I mean, women as well, but you want to put a network around you, but specifically a mentor. Find someone that you can chase after. Find someone that you are open to their feedback, because it's going to produce growth in your life. Don't come out here and try to do it solo. Um, you know, Things happen, you get distracted. You need somebody in your corner that you respect and you value their opinion. That's definitely something that worked for me.
yeah. It worked for me too, brother.
Yeah.
Finding somebody that looks like where I'm going.
Yeah.
Once I found that couple of somebodies, I think the doors opened up for me. And I still believe in that relationships and keeping people in my corner who can help me see things that I don't see and understand clearly.
Yes, sir.
Wonderful, man.
Yes, sir.
Well, yo, man, it's been a great honor to just share this time and space with you. I thank you once again, brother Ernest Hannibal, for being on the Prison to Promise podcast with me. And I'm sure whoever listens to this conversation, somebody's going to be blessed by it.
I pray so. I pray so. And I also want to thank you for the platform and the opportunity to talk to you. But I'm going to continue to reach out
Yeah.
beyond this moment because, like I said, I look for people that look like where I'm trying to go.
Mhm.
You know, and that's just to me, it makes godly sense, good godly
Yeah.
sense.
Absolutely, brother. And I'm on board for that. And so, yes, please let's stay in touch. And if I can be a resource of any kind, please holler at me because I really believe that that's part of my purpose is to be here to help motivate, encourage other people with my through the journey that I've been on. And so I'm trying to leave breadcrumbs behind myself,
Yes,
so
sir.
people who are coming can say, okay, he did it this way, I can do it like that too. You know,
Yeah.
there are many different ways to success. And so I found mine. And so let's just help keep bringing other brothers and sisters along, man.
Yes, sir. Dr. Waleed.
All right, right on then, brother Ernest. Thank you once again. I'll call it a wrap. Wish you
Yes,
a
sir.
great rest of your day, and I'll be in touch.
Okay. Looking forward to it. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, brother. Peace.
All right. Peace.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for hanging out with me for another episode of the Prison to Promise podcast. If you or someone you know would like to share their Prison to Promise story on this platform, please hit me up at drcraigwaleed@gmail.com. I'll spell it for you. That's DrCraigWaleed@gmail.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.